So I like Toontown and found this spooky story on X, so I wanted to share it. Hello, X. Zoomer here, who has questions about scary shit that's happened to you guys gaming wise and what they'd be. For me, it was stuff related to a client for the MMO Toontown that, looking back on it, I'm pretty sure was either a prank or some failed custom launcher someone was trying to make. Maybe someone can make heads or tails of what I went through. Pics are mock ups more than anything. I don't have that 10-year-old computer anymore. Be me. Around November, December 2013. Toontown shut down a few months ago, and my ass was searching and reading forums because I heard people were trying to quote unquote bring it back. This was before I knew about Toontown Rewritten and Project Altus, now Toontown Corporate Clash, or any of that stuff. My brain was trying to find this new continued Toontown download, specifically because I didn't want to restart my tune. Rather than search for simpler terms about servers, I'd search for porting over tunes. I literally didn't know if this was possible or not, but it led me deep into the forums and threads searching for basically a download link. I know it could be a virus or something, stupid of me, yes, but I didn't know better. I trusted the site wouldn't be that fucked. Find a link from a user, generic ass username, I can't really recall it, with 2003 slapped on the end. Older user meant more trustworthy in my head. This will let you port a tune, is what I do recall better, and I clicked to download it. Again, I know, extremely stupid of me. Everyone in this house used this computer, so I knew I'd be screwed if there was a virus, but it downloaded. Normal Toontown logo and all, nothing special. Honestly, didn't know how any tune porting would have worked, didn't know it was basically impossible, and even if it was, TTO was gone altogether, so I figured it must be an in-game process or something. Opening it up, I was met with the 6 tune windows for character creation. Didn't see a way to port a tune as a menu option, so I figured it may be a literal physical thing I may need to use in-game, not just the in-game menu. Since Portatune had the naming convention I'd expect from a feature a fan would add, if they wanted to follow TTO vibes, figure it must be a literal in-game building, maybe a toilet or something. This made sense to me. Thought I was a genius and I'd create my character and go into the game and get my old tune back instead of being confused on the character select and find it on my own without help. It's like the top left character slot, since my main tune would get top middle. Get into the make a tune menu, but get the option to do that or port a tune. Realize I was wrong about the building thing, feel stupid, but also realize no one has to know. Rather than go back to immediately port my tune over, I decided to make my second character I'd use right then and there to have a different build. No sound gags for those who are curious. Even if it was gonna take a while, I knew I wanted to at least get a look down, so Tall Aqua Rabbit it was. Generic placeholder name being a character description before the username was approved. I named him Handsome Jack though, due to replaying Borderlands 2 again. I finish and get sent to the tutorial. No tutorial Tom. The intro sequence plays out as if he is there, dialogue at all, just the NPC is either invisible, or the model didn't load. Didn't think anything of it because bugs and glitches on Toontown were just that extremely normal. Not clipping through the map was harder, and anyone who's played the game and been at BossBot golf courses could attest to this. Tutorial plays out normally otherwise, kill the flunky and move on to the main area of the game being Toontown Central while Tom was absent the whole time. Arriving at Central, the whole place was quiet aside from the music, no other players, no Mickey Mouse walking around. I expected that even at the time I knew it was due to Disney's strict copyright. Walk into the gag shop while the two NPCs, Claire and Clark, are there. They have no movement, otherwise their dialogue and sounds are there. Again, pretty normal, but it was a bit eerie since no one else was in Central, since I'm used to a lot of free-to-plays and beginners being there. Decide to see what else is broken out of curiosity. I go to Punchline Place since I want to see if the boat in Donald's dock is working. Walking through the street, I notice that the music is playing. The sound effects for the mailbox, fire hydrants, etc. though, weren't there. Neither were the animations. This would persist in rewritten and corporate Clash fan servers, so I don't honestly recall if I found this spooky, only remember because other servers ended up doing this for whatever reason. I noticed while walking, the cogs weren't very many. Usually there'd be more to compensate due to news and free-to-plays killing them in mass. Decide to fight a level 1 cold caller just because. Fight goes normally until it explodes, revealing a mechanical skeleton underneath. A skelecog. While these are enemies one can encounter, they are usually regulated to HQs and factories. They'd also have the label 2.0 to indicate the second layer. That was the Skelethog, so I figured that maybe this is how this server wanted to do things. Skelethog was still level 1, didn't know it could go that low, and move on to Barnacle Boulevard. Same as before, music played but no extra sound effects or animation. Shame. Now that I'm in the area with cog buildings, I noticed that while I recognize the cog building type due to the different unique model each had, no little symbol in the elevator entrance to indicate the building type. In fact, the indicator for how many floors the building was also blank. Make it Donald's dock. No Donald as the ship captain, but the boat was there. It was circling the water automatically. I decided to get on it once it stopped. I walk up to the ship and the game crashes. I restart the game and try to select Handsome Jack, but it isn't working for whatever reason, so I figured I'd have to restart again, but I didn't feel like it. Decided to just make my old tune. Notice that right before I click the top center window that the disembodied floating head of Jack, think Mario 64, didn't follow the mouse position. Bummed out since I like that little detail and figured they'll add it later. Otherwise, the tune head is facing straight towards me. Realized something about later added content and wonder if the field offices were here. Quickly getting into the character creation menu, select Port a Tune, and it's just make a tune with options on the gag and laugh level you'd want, an honor system on what level you were. Well, since no one had to know and I didn't see anyone else, while I was walking around as Jack, I decided to make everything out for myself. Well, since no one had to know and I didn't see anyone else while I was walking around as Jack, decided to max out everything for myself. Felt like a genius doing this. Figure I can always just make my tune proper later, since I wanted to know how it felt to be a max level for once. Since this wasn't my main tune officially, decided to name him using the in-game name system. Surprisingly, a lot more name options to select from. Decided to go with pick related because I thought it sounded awesome. Rather than go through tutorial, I get fast-tracked teleported to Donald's Dreamland. Don't know if Tutorial Tom ever loaded in because of this, don't really care because I'm happy not to have to do little old man tasks again. If you know, you know. Realize there's one tune I haven't checked on, Flippy. With how bugged some things were, I wanted to see if he was there. I could just fast travel as it looked like I could straight to Toontown Central. I wanted to explore on the way. The simple route would have been Dreamland, Melodyland, then Central, but I decided on the scenic route. Dreamland, Melody, Berg, Docks, then Central. I wanted to see what worked and didn't work now across the playgrounds and would give me an idea on how functional this overall server was. Also wanted to see if I'd crash again at the docks or if it was just a one-off. From Dreamland to Melodyland, checking the shops on the street, NPCs stood there, but no placeholder dialogue or anything, no movement either. Not even their animal sounds played when you got close. I checked the knock-knock joke doors, and the only thing that happened was a knock-knock sound effect. No joke or dialogue, or the drum riff sound effect for the joke's punchline. While at the time I thought it was just another bug for this server, looking back now that I know those exchanges are an MP3 file, meaning someone cropped it to be that way on purpose and removed the rest of the interaction. Of course, younger me just chalked it up to yet another bug. Get to Melodyland, and aside from Minnie missing, which made sense, it was empty. Wonder, while walking around, if the fishing worked at this rate. Checked the playground's fishing pond, and I couldn't fish. Tune wouldn't lock into place to even start fishing. Only now would notice that the fishing pond was missing two of the shadows that indicated the fish. I jump into the pond knowing this wouldn't do anything except there's no pond. At least, there was water, but there was also collision. Normally when jumping into the small bodies of water, with the exception of Donald's Dock and the swimming minigame, you just sink and walk across the bottom. Deciding to just make my way to the Berg, and now at this point running and jumping, I'd misclick the keyboard and see there was a free-flowing camera rather than the fixed camera angle that followed the player. Other than the world map, I haven't really looked in the sticker book. Look at the options and see toggle free cam. Okay, neat. Sprint key, set it as a shift key. Toggle it to holding the key. Neat. .mp3. Able to set it to WASD instead of the arrow keys, very neat. See another option, Victory Dance on. Try to click it to set it to off, since I always skip those these days anyway. Basically, after every fight, you do a Victory Dance as your tune. Just rapid click, skip through it. It becomes just another habit after a while. Try to turn the dance option off, but it's still set to on still. Annoying, but I've already been rapid clicking this whole time anyway. But decided to check that, since everything seems to be incomplete or broken. This may be a visual bug, and I did turn it off. Fight yet another cog in the Berg this time. Oh shit, here we go again. .mp4. Ambulance chaser. Body them quickly due to high-level gags, the Skillicog underneath as well. Stop touching the keys to see if the victory dance was toggled off. There wasn't a dance, but not because I turned off the dance, since the little cutscene still played, stats showing up and all, but the tune wasn't dancing at all. So either the toggle worked and this was the best that could be done and the cutscene needs to be key smashed through anyways, or the toggle didn't work and this was yet something else unadded. Before I could actually check if this was the case, I noticed the Cog's shoe model was still on the ground. Even then, I knew the shoes were a different model due to certain Cog death animations leaving them behind, but they always vanished after the fight. Shoes stayed, but again, like everything else, buggy as hell. As I walked away, I noticed the shoes, now dark pixels, as I was turning the street, started moving. They looked like they were coming my direction. I ignored it and go into Sleet Street, heading to the Berg finally. Cutscene through the tunnel plays. Seen this a couple times. When someone goes through a tunnel and a cog finishes walking through the street, they fly away. Figured the model is just fucked up and made it think it was a cog. Now at the Berg, I beeline straight to Walrus Way, ignoring the playground to head to the docks. No Pluto, which I suspected. On my way going through the street, I get curious about little old man. He did have the most infamous tasks. Would a fan give him different treatment? Especially with how broken everything was, I decided to just look real quick. Find the Blizzard Wizard and head inside. No old man at all, which I actually found a bit amusing. As I exit, Toon seemingly walks onto the road. I don't know if I was just pressing down this entire time or something, but I ran right into a cog fight. Normally, hasn't been an issue, but I had 4 of them to fight solo as other cogs join. Since I didn't know what I was doing, plus seemingly bad RNG as every attack hit, while mine missed almost every turn, get greened and forced back to the playground, annoyed because I had them down to 3 low Skelecogs. Whatever, I'll just heal at the playground. Now, at the Berg, I look for the healing treasures to heal faster, except there is none. I will run around and wait instead. While running around waiting to heal, I run over the playground frozen pond, wondering if the slide physics would be there. Instead, I fell through it, the playground map. Falling, I would see the frozen models of the Disney characters and little old man. Everything was stuttering badly, but I could walk. I got close to the closest model, being little old man, and it was just the somewhat faint sound of a rabbit talk sound in a high frequency and looping indefinitely. Before I could process what was going on, then the client crashed again. Fine, whatever. Top right for new tune. Pick related, I based her on Blossom from Fetch with Refreshment. Underweighted waifu, by the way. Normally I'd quit playing, something so weirdly broken by now. They investigate why all those models were under the ice frozen like that. Max everything gag-wise and no tune-up, as I didn't have use for it since I'd been alone. Then as I loaded into Dreamland again, it dawned on me. I haven't seen another player at all. While in current corporate clash, I'm used to it at this point. A younger me was not. And with 2 of my tunes essentially being unusable, I figured most people would likely quit after just losing the first. But I finally actually checked after this whole time. Actually check Stickerbook and check districts. Districts are basically server instances of the same world map, just separated to allow more players to play at the time. Nutty River and Nutty Summit, I'm looking at you. Why the fuck were you always full? Seeing the districts, I was in Silly Rapids, population 3, total population 4. I check all the other districts for that remaining player, but everywhere else set at 0. I haven't seen any of the other 3 players, period, nor would I be sticking around much longer to make friends. I just wanted to see what the hell was up with my frozen tunes. Decided to go to Ground Zero where it first happened. I didn't have a plan further than that. Click the world map to teleport to docks. Doesn't work. Looks like I have to walk. Retread the same path I took before, and when I passed the berg, I avoided the ice pond, but got curious if the models were under the ice here, or if it was the wrong district to do that. Using a clipping trick, using the trolley and getting between that and the back wall, if you know you know, I'm actually able to see under the map, the freecam making it easier / possible. Normally in game, a player name tag appears on screen with an arrow indicating what direction they are at. These name tags were invisible until I clipped the camera. They were all selectable now. See Doc. Tempted to TP over, but I'd probably just get frozen and crash again. Basically, there was nothing I could do, so I left him there, at least for now. Finally start heading towards the docks while sprinting. Once there, I would see Jack frozen mid-air, just like Doc, mid-walking animation. I couldn't reach him from where I was either, but I could TP. Figure if I move the tune, it would get unstuck maybe. Otherwise it's stuck there, and it seems only when I touched or got close to the boat did I crash. So I just waited for the boat to be on the other side of the dock, and I would TP hoping it would glitch me right next to Jack mid-air, as it would push the model even just a little. After TPing animation played, it did indeed make me appear mid-air next to him. Model moved and fell into the water along with myself, idle animation returning, and almost immediately Jack played the teleport animation, which was also the leaving animation for when logging out. Wait. I checked the total population. 3 total. Pop 2 in the district I was in. Thought no way the game was counting the stuck tune as a player. Taxi tunes and bots in old TTO didn't make this impossible, though. The game probably only counted the tune model existing as enough, rather than if there was a person behind it. Double check by quitting, making sure to move Rusty away from the boat. Then I checked the main menu, and yes, Jack was free, and I logged in and logged back out with him just to move him out of the way of the boat path. Excited I can free my tunes, I stay with Rusty because she was max gags and I'm gonna be in the high level areas. Namely because I did get an idea on how to save Doc. Jack I had to push slightly to update his animation back to normal, which was possible due to how TPing worked, where it tries to put you as close as possible to the player you're TPing to, disregarding any other collision type, including mid-air. Learned this from the many out-of-boundary experiences. Issue with Doc is under the ice seemed to crash the game almost instantly. Worst case and best case stutter the game massively. I have to update his animation from the distance somehow, and the only way to do that was to force a unite animation. Since there was no one else to help do any boss raid, and I had no idea how to use multiple accounts / tunes at once, I've seen players do, I was on my own. Saving grace, I was max level and I have done solo runs before, so it wasn't impossible. Solo chief financial officer was still a slog. Seems I already had the minimum cog bucks for the suit and minimum suit level. The game didn't want to give you everything, even when gags and laugh were maxed. Head to Cash Body HQ on foot, since still no instant teleport. Everything seemed normal, at least in terms of what I already described so far. Cash Body HQ seemed almost empty. For the uninitiated, there are 4 enemy cog types. All 4 had an HQ with a respective raid boss. Each HQ had a semi-safe courtyard, though unlike playgrounds, there were cogs patrolling nearly everywhere in all 4, except this place seemed near empty. Cellbot felt crowded due to the small courtyard. Lawbot felt vacant only because the courtyard was massive. Everything was just massively spaced, not empty. Bossbot was a better middle ground, but only because it was added much later, so mistakes were very much amended in the original TTO. Cashbot was the fucked up middle ground due to having more pockets of cogs rather than a clear-cut courtyard. Cashbot had hazards like trains going through it. There were none here, though, and those usual pockets were near empty, and it wasn't a case where it was just due to distance like in Lawbot HQ making it look like a few. No, it was just a very sparse cogs amount like the streets. I had enough to do one solo run, otherwise if I fail I have to grind immense. Fuck that.exe. I just have to account for Skelecogs for the solo strategy and I should be fine. Get into the vault for the fight and the dialogue is skipped completely. Just the CFO silently looking at my toon for a few seconds from the cutscene and the toon losing disguise. Just straight into it otherwise. As I suspected, Skelecogs under every normal cog. Anticipated this, but still more difficult than a regular CFO cause of it. Not to mention it's solo. The most annoying thing are the Skelecogs due to them unluring after the outer shell is destroyed. I haven't mentioned this since I didn't think it was that important, but now feels relevant. While I haven't fought many cogs since I've been mostly running around, I noticed they used attacks I would later find out was just cut content, such as blowing smoke from a cigarette one, for example, found out due to the Pandora leaks years back. I wouldn't be bringing this up if it wasn't relevant. The next Skelecog that spawned were labeled Prototype Skelecog. When they attacked, the dialogue had was dev message, contact if bugged, made these myself, smiley face. Then followed was an attack I'd never seen before, quote unquote limo call. A long car which looked like a goofy speedway cart painted black made really long would drive across the screen recklessly. What the fuck? WTF? Another attack was safety deposit box. Skelecog spoke and said, dev message, destroying safe is very important, remember mint bosses. Fuck. It basically summoned and placed a safe in front of it, and a Skelecog next to it walked inside. There was a number 3 on it. The 4 Skelecogs became 3 with one in the safe. Couldn't attack the cog behind directly, and only attacks that went around the safe would hit it. Also couldn't lure it because the safe was in the spot a lured cog would be in. Sound, drop, certain water gags, etc. worked. Cog was also limited to certain attacks, as every time a head-on attack animation played, it would always miss/fail, so I guess that helped. Wouldn't be until the second time this attack is done would I figure out a counter. Otherwise, it increased the enemy cap to 5 for as long as the one who was in the safe was alive. This scared and blew my mind at the same time. Another attack, investment capital, quote unquote. Basically, I healed a little bit, but when the number that appeared above the cog went to 0, they took back twice the HP healing themselves. Figured out just to kill them quickly to keep the heal benefit, and using quicksand and trapdoor on the safe cog was an instant kill. The animation was comparable to that of a Toontown animator YouTuber I found years later, Smokin' Foreman, with how his animations reminded me of it. The last thing of note during the cog rounds was that once the last wave, when one of the cogs were on low HP, it got replaced by one of those hard hat robots, a goon. Time didn't do its name any favors, but it had a countdown and its light was shining right on me. Number 3 and a green light. Figure it's counting down each turn for an attack that'll definitely hit. Normally, they can be temporarily disabled jumping in them or killed if a safe drops on them, but only during this raid. Figure would otherwise be immune to drop. Throw gag, because I figure I need to cover the lens. Not only is the timer disabled and reset, goon stops moving. Defeat the rest, and only the goon has left. That safe that was added. An extra window with a gag slot on the gag menu popped up. Temporary gags, quote unquote. This would have probably been explained if I didn't jump to here, but I figured there'd be an explanation even if my toon was ported over. Can't dwell on it, and using drop gags, both mine and the temporary, it actually did do damage to the goon. Maybe there was another way to deal with them, since if I didn't have a drop or the insta-kill gag traps. But I didn't feel like trying to sit and figure it out, I just wanted to get it over with. Felt genius, by the way, figuring it out on the spot. Finally, fighting a CFO proper using the magnet cranes and throwing shit into him. The only difference in this fight is that there's different models of things to throw at him, like gold bars and the rail car. The gold bars causing a mesmerized status as the text appeared above the CFO, as well as a crane causing off-rail effect, which one makes CFO stunned for a good bit, while the other stuns temporarily and disabled one of the 4 cranes temporarily due to the suit of the train covering it. Otherwise, CFO goes down as he's run over by the train with the end cutscene. I get my Unite and head back to the Berg. While I was curious on what else the game had, considering I've mostly seen broken and complete stuff, I wanted to get this over with, and it seems no one else was in the district except for me and my old Toon dock still trapped under the ice. Measuring where he would be under the ice versus my location, I got as close as I could without falling into the ice and used the Unite. Couldn't see through the floor, but I heard the TP sound effect play, meaning he had to have logged out. First, check the district population. It went down to 2. Still don't know who the other player is. Take Recipe Central and check main menu. I was able to select dock again. I go back into the game and immediately spawn at the Berg, immediately leave and head to Central. I was safe and finally wanted to see if Flippy was at all functional. Now, this next part is why I think it was either a prank or years later, thinking about it occasionally, some event I triggered or something. I'm not sure. Walking into the hall to see Flippy and where he would usually be standing, he was there, kind of. His model was missing his face. No snout, eyes, ears, it was just his head. Figured, once again, another bug. I walked up to him and the game. For a moment, I thought it was going to crash. But instead of dynamic camera you'd only get in cutscenes for boss fights or the tutorial, would be this incomplete Flippy center screen. And he would reach his hands out and my Toon backing up away from it. It goes back to gameplay and Flippy's hands are still reaching out and I just start to walk away. But the hands keep stretching out, leaving the building with the camera looking behind me. The doors open and outstretched hands are still following me. I fucking panic and book it immediately to the streets. While Silly Street from the Toon Hall is closer, I was already running straight and doubling back to go there would bring me closer to the hands, so the second closest was Punchline Place and to the docks. Head to the streets and assume I would be fine. This is a different area. Nope. Turning the corner from the tunnels are the hands still outstretching, following me. They had a lock wherever I walked, like an N64 Zelda enemy, with how it reminded me of that. I avoided the cogs to avoid getting stuck in a battle, but I noticed as I ran, the cogs caught in the crossfire of the outstretched hands would immediately explode, both the regular and a skelecog underneath. Those who were ahead of the path of destruction would fly away. Running into the boulevard, I would hope it would end there as it was a different area. Nope, it was still following me and it seemed to be getting faster. Get to the docks and figure that Acorn Acres may be completely safe. At least that's what I'd hoped. I get no break as they are still following me as I'm at the acres. I have one last idea because otherwise I'm fucked. Worry I'd be caught by doing any of the golf minigames, as those have a timer wind up and I may trap myself in a minigame basically, so that was not an option. Run to the BossBot HQ entrance, veryspooky.cog, and I quickly look for a way to leave the map boundaries. Enemies can't spawn or come here at all. There's no ground or whatever, is what I thought. Managed to clip out of bounds and run out of the area. While I was scared and I could have closed the game by now, I was curious by this event, enemy, whatever it was. Thought I was actually safe to observe these constantly stretching hands. Nope, they followed me out of bounds. They were rapidly approaching at this point. The moment I tried to open the book to log out, I was forced out of the book and a cog battle? In the void? I got pulled into a basic fight as I had options to attack. I was surprised by this and stared at my screen for a bit. There was no battle timer either. Then I noticed the outstretched arms were getting slightly fatter. He was approaching. Say fuck it and use the drop gags on those hands. It wouldn't get a turn, instead I would keep attacking again. Basically I need to keep attacking then. No HP indicators, but I'm using so much drop and at least hitting it each time. Thankfully my autistic ass always restocks after every fight, so I'm full and have extra saves from the CFO. After what feels like forever of just dumping drops on arms, there he was, the outstretched, faceless Flippy. Despite not being their turn, he was slowly walking forwards onto the screen. Figured I would use a temp safe to drop on the main body. Those seemed OP to me, at least, since there were temp items. Instead of falling on Flippy, it would instead spawn in like how the Skelecog summoned it, just my tune playing the animation. Right in front of Doc, now putting something between Flippy and I. Flippy stopped and couldn't move forward towards me while the safe was there. It also lasted 3 turns as indicated by the number. He was dropped repeatedly on the main body. After basically 3 free hits, he kept walking forwards. Panicking and thinking it was over, I clicked the hose gag. It pushed him back instead. Throw also pushed him back. Figure to push him back far enough, and I set a trap down, TNT. It works, he walks right into it. Each drop, and now the trap gags, he seemed to be moving faster each time. His model seemingly twitched and more violently. I think I was hurting him. Though despite the traps hurting him more, seemingly, he didn't stop. Then I thought I was genius. I timed it just right to summon another safe I had onto him. He was now boxed into it. Quicksand trap. The client crashes. Oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck. Quickly restart it. Character select. Doc was selectable. Quickly click and I load into Toontown Central, not Bossbot HQ for some reason. Everything seems normal so far. I head to Toon Hall and there's no Flippy. I wonder for a moment if it was just this district or something. I quit and deleted the launcher after this. I was both terrified but also confused why I was the only one. I haven't seen anyone ever talk about this server or anyone else related to it in years. Anyone have any idea what it was about? I assume it was someone trying to make their own server like Rewritten, Infinite, etc. or some other personal project, but I've seen nothing about it. I don't expect any answers, but if there is by the chance, that'd be great.